We have Bill.
Bill should also be logging in.
Yep, I sent you.
Okay.
You guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
I'm
Oh,
in the service area for about 6, so I may fade in and out.
Yes, you're fading in and out.
what about what? What did you say? You're doing what?
I said I'm driving in a bad cell service area, so I
Oh,
may be fading in and out.
okay.
If I pass out, call
All right,
911.
There's Bill. All right, it is.
We shall.
Are we ready? It's 11:01, and we are here for a presentation from Verizon Wireless. And so at this time, we'll turn it over to Andy.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So, well, this is actually a follow-up with we had with the previous set of commissioners. So, I did you get my our proposal and the lease and all of that stuff that I forwarded along?
We did, and maybe we'll start with our legal, Bill Wilson, who reviewed that so that he can say what his issues and concerns are, and then the board can ask you some questions about it.
Sure.
All
Absolutely.
right, let's lead with Mr. Wilson.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
They
All
can,
right,
yes.
great. Okay, so yeah, commissioners and Andy, this is I did review this lease, I think back when it was originally presented, and there are some things about it that I do concern me a little bit. And I'll just go down the list of the ones that I had made. First of all,
Sure.
the lease term is an initial term of 5 years with 4 additional term of the same time that automatically
Sorry.
renew. And that's not something that the county typically does, because the county typically wants to be able to have termination clauses that allow it to exit leases, and so that it doesn't bind a future board with an obligation. Here, there is we're earning money on this lease, but the lease itself is an obligation that, future boards may not want to continue with. And so those terms are problematic for me. The second issue that I found here was that, the location or the proposed location of the tower being on the courthouse building could create an issue with the portion of the lease that requires 24-hour access to that equipment, because the courthouse is a secure facility, and so the bailiffs and judges that reside there or work there, I imagine would have a problem with allowing an outside or a third party 24-hour access to that building because it is secure.
Our clerk confirms that.
Yeah, big time. So there's a dual indemnification clause in the lease. These are really standard in normal, just private industry agreements, contracts, and other things. But because we are a political subdivision in the state of Idaho, we have rules against creating debt beyond the current budget year. And the Attorney General's office has given me an opinion that open-ended indemnification clauses violate that portion. It's Article 8, Section 3 of the Idaho Constitution, because we're agreeing to indemnify future without a stop date, and that could create an unknown potential liability years into the future. We can't do that. So indemnification is also something that if we wanted to move forward would have to come out of the contract. And then the last thing, that there's a portion of the contract that offers, if we entered into it, would offer the lessee the right of first refusal in the event that we ever wanted to sell the premises. I imagine that this is a stock contract and might be applicable to, say, a tower in the middle of a field somewhere. And maybe it's more applicable to that scenario, but we have, there have been, ideas thrown around for years now about the eventual movement of the courthouse facilities to a new location, and that would selling the current property. And the duration of this lease is 25 years. It's very likely that we would try to do something like that with the next quarter century, and I would hate to throw a wrench in these gears by creating a term in this lease that would allow the lessee the right of first refusal to purchase the whole property. Now, I'm not saying they would, but just by the terms of the lease, we would have to do that. And so I see that as a problem for our long-term future planning. So those were the issues that I saw with the lease. Just throwing that out to the board and to the representative, and then you guys can do with those what you will.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Before we go to Andy, do the commissioners have questions for Bill on what he presented of his concerns? Commissioner Corn?
I don't have any questions. I had the exact same concerns.
Okay.
So I'm glad that he spoke of those things.
Thank you. Commissioner, is that us?
It's the phone.
Commissioner Donkey?
I'm thinking through this. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate your feedback on those items. Each of those items sounds like an item that I would agree with your assessment would bind and/or limit the county in ways that would either be ill-advised from our future planning perspective and/or illegal for us to do. And so I'm not seeing a path forward that would really allow us to seriously consider such a proposal.
Okay. And Mr. Hambright, we'll go back to you regarding first kind of addressing the legal concerns brought forth by Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, sure. First of all, it is a standardized lease. All of these leases, once we start, it's for a negotiation. I wasn't forwarding that as a final contract. Just to briefly address the term, if we could maybe, I'm wondering if we could come to some sort of arrangement where they could get at least a guaranteed 10 years or something like that before it's just openly cancelable. And the reason is because these are really expensive to build. So it costs them a lot of money to get up and going. And then if you could just get canceled the next year, that's pretty ill-advised from a business standard. So I'm hoping there might be some room to negotiate on that.
And Andy, let me just stop you. Andy, let me just interrupt you because I don't want to waste anyone's time. The Board of County Commissioners can never bind a future board, so you can never do that. And so we wouldn't be able to give you any guarantee of continued service with the county. And if that's what you guys are looking for, it's not an option with a county. So statutorily, we cannot do that.
Okay, understood. So what is the term, what is the length of the commissioner's terms?
It's an annual. The board is a 1-year board from a contractual perspective. So we can have renewal options, and Mr. Wilson can speak more directly to this. But we can't agree to something that goes beyond the year of that current board.
So the way that we get around that limitation, and again, it's rooted in the Idaho Constitution, which prohibits us from creating debt beyond the current budget year. And we do have contracts and leases that are for more than a year, but the way that we get around them is having the right to terminate. So
Gotcha.
as long as a future version of the board has the ability to cancel the contract, then it can have like those automatic rights of renewal as long as the county has the right to walk away. And that's what we
Gotcha.
don't have in this agreement.
Okay, understood. So, yeah, I'll have to, obviously that's a risk assessment that Verizon will have to make, but understood. That is a limitation. So, I guess moving on to the next issue of the indemnification, I understand that. I think that can be removed as well. Access, they don't need 24/7 access. It's best if they can, especially like in an emergency situation. There are other sites that are on secure buildings. There's actually one down in what's the Longview, Washington, that's on the jail building. And so they do have a locked access ladder on the outside of the building to get up so that it doesn't require any entrance into the building. But even in that case, if they can limit it to you know a certain, Monday through Friday, whatever times, and then in case of an emergency, possibly have a point of contact or a way to, address the emergency and hopefully gain access, I think is also acceptable. The right of first refusal, it's been a while since I sent that lease over, so I haven't reviewed it, but I think that's only in the case that, and if it's not written that way, it can be that it's if a competitor is coming to purchase the building, one of Verizon's competitors, say AT&T or some tower company, is in to purchase the building, then they would want the right of first refusal, just so that they can't just get bought out and then canceled, as a business strategy.
And I guess
So
we
those-
can't, I think that really what you're hearing from the county is that the things that are reasonable that you guys would do to protect your investment, the county really can't do for you. We can't guarantee that you guys would always have that spot. We can't do any of those things. And so and I haven't heard anything different. It's from the last time that this was presented. In terms of what's best for Verizon is probably a contract similar to what you guys drafted, but what's obligated by the county is essentially that we not do any of those things that are in your best interest. We have to protect the interests of the county. And so from my view, I don't see how we can move forward with such a contract. And I'll turn to the rest of the board to see if they feel that this is something we could move forward with. Commissioner Domke?
I agree with Commissioner Williams' points. This, having just heard this as a new member of the board, there's a lot the county's doing right now to look at future planning and future needs, and this just sounds like it's legally problematic and also an encumbrance for our future planning. And so I don't think it's something that would be a worthy consideration to our taxpayers. And it sounds like it's probably not the right type of facility from a business perspective for Verizon. So it sounds like you guys might be better off seeking to look at private facilities.
Commissioner Korn?
I would have to agree with both commissioners. I just don't see any way of making this work. And yeah, I don't see it moving forward.
So I don't have was this just a discussion? Was this
Discussion or decision.
Okay, so did you say discussion or decision?
That's what it
Okay,
is. So if you
all
want
right,
to make a decision.
okay. Mr. Hambright, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, other than I thought we were addressing the issues that were of concern, that we could maybe come to an agreement, but it sounds like you're just not interested. If that's the case, then okay, fair enough.
Okay,
I believe the concerns are insurmountable.
okay.
Okay, I disagree, but okay, you're the commissioners.
Does the board want to make an actual decision on this item? Since it was listed as action, discussion, decision, we can entertain a motion at this time.
I'd be happy to make one just to try to clarify the situation for everyone involved.
Okay,
We'll see if the language makes sense to the
Okay.
board. I move to deny the proposed contract for the installation of a cellular tower on the county courthouse building.
there's a motion. Is there a
second that.
second? Any further discussion by the board on this item? I got to pause. I have to give public comment. Any comment from the public on this item? All right, seeing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes?
Commissioner Corn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gumpy,
Yes.
All right, it is 11:15 and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Hambright. Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.
We'll see you in a little bit, Commissioner Corn.
Thank you.
Thank you.